The 25-26 UConn women are loaded. What is the upside or downside to each of these players? And, oh, by the way, Paige Bueckers, Rookie of the Year. How about that? You're on the Hoops Gap.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions. Let's go.
Welcome to the Hoops Gap pod. Let's get that off of T. Baker's face there. Our show is sponsored by Big East Energy Network, and you can find us on bigenergymediapods.com. Go like and subscribe. All of our shows, Built to Ball, Big East women's basketball coverage from T himself. Listen, this team is loaded, but first we have to talk about the player that they're losing, and that they kind of have to be loaded because you just lost probably one of the best players to ever play at UConn. Paige Bueckers wins Rookie of the Year in the WNBA. Talk to me. Unanimous winner.
Yeah, I mean, well, most programs losing a player like Paige, it puts you immediately in a rebuild. But with UConn, it's always a reload, as we know. So, I mean, I think it just shows the incredible talent that Paige has, that she showed us throughout her UConn career. It also shows that, her skill does translate. I think that's always the case with rookies, is sometimes like you're not sure exactly how, their game is going to translate to the physicality of the WNBA, different level of skill. But she eased right in. She's actually the only WNBA player this season who finished the top 10 in points, assists, and steals per game. So just, in addition to doing things that rookies don't usually do, like, again, breaking the single game scoring record, 44 points. She did things that not a lot of players have done, and she did it with tremendous efficiency. I think that's just what sets her above the rest, is just the efficiency with which she shoots the ball.
My question to you is, and I didn't talk to you about this pre-show, she got 70 of 72 first place votes. Who are these two knuckleheads that didn't vote for her for Rookie of the Year?
I mean, listen, I think Sonia Citron is a great player, but she's not the Rookie of the Year. I agree with you. I think it was clear this year. In a different year, Sonia Citron could have gotten it, but not this one. Paige did things, again, that not only rookies don't do, but other players don't do. So yeah, I don't know who those two voters were. It's probably the same person that didn't vote Asia for MVP a couple years ago, right? Just out there to be a little bit, adversarial, trying to shake it up.
You know what? But you know what it comes down to for me too, when it comes to stuff like that. It's like AP voting on the men's or women's side. It's like, if it's not that big a deal, don't do it. Like, don't be a voter if you're not going to take it seriously. And there's not a person alive that could come on our show and tell us that Sonia Citron had a better year than Paige Bueckers, more impactful, more. Every number says no. So. Right. It's kind of like malpractice. And if you want to be a serious journalist, and I'm not a journalist, I can tell you that right now. But if you want to be a serious journalist and vote in these polls, why would you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with it because I think sometimes people try to get a little liberal with the definition. They're like, who had the impact on the better team? And the Mystics had a better year than the Wings. Sonia Citron had a lot to do with that, but this is an individual award, and Paige Bueckers just swept it. Like, there's no question in my mind. So yeah, the metrics get a little wonky, and these are all journalists with biases and their own perception. Maybe those two voters were in DC. Who knows? Never saw Paige play this year.
maybe. Well, the good news is she won it nonetheless. It's just one of those things where it just to me, it's like, I'm old. It's like Derek Jeter not being a unanimous Hall of Famer, and like there was one writer that didn't vote him in unanimously. It's like, come on, man. Yeah. Like, let's just be real about this.
Don't be that one. Don't be that.
Don't be that person. Yeah. Don't be that person. You're better than that. That's my favorite thing. That might be the worst insult someone could give you, is you're smarter than that, or you're better than that.
Yeah. It's like, bless your heart. Bless your heart.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All right. So. What's next for Paige? She obviously is gonna be playing Unrivaled. Is she gonna get a break? Like, what's the deal?
Yes, when Unrivaled starts, I believe February, March. So she's got a couple months of a break, and that's rare for a lot of women's basketball players. Traditionally, over the past several decades, players go right to off-season commitments and then right to the WNBA no break. So it's fortunate for Paige that after going to the Final Four, playing a full season, the longest season in WNBA history, 44 games, she is going to get a break and then go get some money in Unrivaled and ball out, hoop out. Like, she's going to be so good in 3-on-3. I think it's going to be really exciting to see how her game translates to that smaller court. It's really built for a player who has the versatility and efficiency of someone like Paige Bueckers. So I'm excited to see her go ball out and Unrivaled.
Oh, without a doubt. All right, so real quick, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the upside downside of this UConn women's basketball team replacing Paige, from guards to forwards to hybrid players like Serah Strong that can probably play anywhere, to the centers on this team, and we're going to do so after the break. Husky Nation, we take a brief break from the program to tell you about something that if you haven't already ordered it, you need to. It's Dan Hurley's new book, Never Stop, written in collaboration with our friend Ian O'Connor. Check that out. Let's get it up here, but also here as well. Look, Never Stop is everything that you want from a book, not just from Dan Hurley, but just in general. It tells a authentic story of someone who is misunderstood to a certain extent, a complicated person. And I, for one, am enjoying every word of this. I am almost at the end, so I think I know how it ends. But it's just one of those books that you don't want to put down. And in particular, the first 30 pages, when a lot of Husky Nation was very sure that Dan was coming back from UConn, but those of us who were covering it knew just how close this dude was going to the Lakers, and he talks about it in detail. So you do not want to miss that, and how close Dan Hurley actually came to saying hello to Hollywood. So check it out here on the Hoops Cap. Make sure you get your copy. Never Stop, Dan Hurley, Ian O'Connor. And we're back. Go get your copy of the book. I got it here on my desk. I'm trying to finish it up this weekend. It's really good. First 30 pages are enthralling about the, being on a private plane to LA. And one of the first, because I know you're a writer of books and a lover of history. The first thing that struck me was, here's a guy from Jersey City that grew up with nothing, and he says right before takeoff, the flight attendant comes over and goes, "Glass of champagne, Mr. Hurley," and he's just like, "Where am I?" It's just like it's just a wild account of that, and all the different factors, like how Andrea started off being like, and then started to warm up to it. His son, same thing. They all had each family member had a plan going into it, and it all changed once they got there. So it's an very interesting book. Definitely go check it out. All right, so on to the women. They're just stacked. I mean, I've done this show for over a year and a half now, and I've been watching this team forever, and maybe outside of the Brianna Store team, like I just don't see a team starting off the year where you're like, holy cow, like I don't know if a team could play with them. Like so we wanted to do a show today about upside, downside, right? So let's start with, what does that mean? What's the highest upside of the team going forward? What's the downside? Maybe there's some things that they need to focus on. And let's start with the guards. Let's start with KK Arnold. Talk to me about where you think she could go. Like what's her highest upside?
I mean, for me, KK Arnold has All-American potential. I think that's her upside. Definitely all Big East potential, and has definitely shined in conference play. But she's the type of player that I think, her defensive intensity, her on-ball coverage, her ability to just quickly change the pace and transition. She's a huge impact type player, and I think she could be a player that's considered an All-American at the end of this season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think, so I'll be the bad cop on this one. I think the downside for KK is she has to be more, like you said, she's got to be more consistent. Like she can be a breakout candidate, but I think it's more likely that she stays not necessarily the same, but gets incrementally better. And I think that's going to be the toughest part about this conversation today, which is I don't expect any like negative stuff. It's more just it's going to be hard to quantify. You know what I mean? Like so if KK gets 10% better than she was last year, that may not be, it's kind of like a microscope. Like that may not be able to be seen by the naked eye. But I think if you really kind of do it fine comb, really kind of get through it, KK really could be, like you said, a table setter for them. Definitely a great on-ball defender. But I think if we're talking the downside, I think she's a consistency, making sure she doesn't turn the ball over, not playing too loose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think in same page. I mean, I think she has that potential. I think the consistency is missing sometimes. I think her outside shot could use some improvement.
Sure.
Maybe the offensive firepower isn't there, but I think in terms of the impact she can have on a team, in the way she can contribute defensively, if her scoring follows that, I think she has that potential within her. If not this year, then certainly next year. So I think she's a really interesting player with a bright future to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. So I think for me, the biggest, I want to say like the biggest X factor for me is, because she's not really an X factor. She's an elite player, and she may end up getting a player of the year stuff, which is Azzi Fudd. And I'll go to, I'll have you be the good cop for all of the guards, and then we can maybe switch it up. But like, I think the downside of Azzi from that perspective is, in order for her to be to get to the next level, either in the WNBA unrivaled going forward next year, she's got to be more consistent. Some of that had to do with injury and things of that nature, but also consistency to stay injury free throughout the year, not have a setback where like a little one like she had last year, play throughout the whole year with no injuries. And finally, from a basketball standpoint, she's got to learn to play with the ball in her hands more versus just being an off the ball shooter. So I think those are the things that she's probably working on diligently, because we know Azzi is a worker. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, and just to elaborate on that, just one of the biggest risks or vulnerabilities is just her injury history. It's just it's really the likelihood of increasing injury after you have the type of major injury she's had. So just, can she play a full season? Can she play as one of the main offensive option? Or is she more of a complement to a player like Serah Strong? But I mean, the upside is what we saw last year in the Final Four. Most outstanding player really took over in certain stretches of that championship game. I remember her parents after the game just saying, like, that's the old Azzi, right? Just no hesitation, playing free, driving to the basket. I think a lot of times we've seen Azzi play a little hesitantly just because of her injuries, and she's had to really be cautious at a lot of her career. But if she can play free basketball, play a full season, definitely first team All-American potential for her, right? And top 3 draft pick potential as well.
Without a doubt. Okay. Who's next on this list? Let's go with kind of more of an X factor, Morgan Cheli. Give me your thoughts on her.
I mean, Morgan Cheli to me is a player with a with the potential to be a major contributor on this team. She showed it in flashes last year, in big games, including at USC at the XL Center. I think it's a little hard to say exactly where she can contribute. I think we see her just as a really special wing player who, has a really strong foundation. She competed at Archbishop Midi in San Jose, which has produced a lot of elite women's basketball talent. And she's a long guard, the type of long guard that fits well into Gina Auriemma's system. Think a player like Katie Lou Samuelson. So she can be used as a dynamic wing in those settings. But really, I mean, the downsides for me are just thinking about like her durability, injury again. I think there were moments last year where you could tell she was just a freshman, right? She was adjusting to the physicality of the college game. What about you? What are some of the downsides you see?
Yeah, again, like I don't. It's hard with this team because they're so small, right? I do think that she does need a little bit. She needs to be a little bit more stronger in terms of I hate to be like sound funny about it. She fell a lot last year, like in just getting used to the pace.
Yeah.
Just being a little more balanced, things of that nature. I know it sounds silly, but it's important. It's kind of like if you're a part of a team that wants to be, quick in transition with some of the additions like Blanca Quinones and others, you can't be the one that, trips up.
Yeah.
And I say that joking around, but like, that's reality. Like she did kind of look a little off balance, in that respect. And so I do think that she needs to work on getting stronger with the ball. And also just like, if you're going to be the kind of the Swiss Army knife, are you, learning the offense like that? Maybe you're not running the show. Like she's not a point guard, but being a Swiss Army knife means where everybody should be at all times, like no matter what. So if she can do that, if she can kind of transform her game where she's kind of giving a little bit more leadership aspect of that, and no one's asking her to step up that way. Yeah, but doing it, taking the onus and doing it herself, I think would, be volumes better for this team, and it would kind of show confidence because she's a good shooter and she didn't shoot particularly well last year, and from 3-point range, and I think that that's something that she can add to her game.
Yeah, I think there were moments last year where she looked like a player that just left high school, right? Kind of getting knocked around, didn't have the tact around certain plays, but that's just you kind of like get thrown into it and you make it work. I think what's helpful with the guards, and we can transition to this player next, is like that there is such a veteran presence. So you have, like we talked about Azzi, we talked about KK, but we also have Caroline Ducharme, who I think is a player who could be sort of a model for a player like Morgan Cheli. I think they have a similar type game. They play similar roles. We haven't seen a lot of Caroline Ducharme, but she was a player who was averaging 10 plus points a game, is a really potent offensive threat, but has just struggled mightily with health and, concussions, and you just got to take that really cautiously. So it'll be interesting to see. I think her upside to me is like a regular contributor, someone who is like second or third off the bench. And her downside is, just a player who is kind of what she was last year, which is coming in towards the end of the games. We don't know what her health is. We don't know what the precautions are, the talent's there. And I think she could be a really good model for a player like Morgan Cheli. And in fact, those two players might actually compete for some playing time.
No, I definitely agree. And that's another one too. Like if we go to Caroline, I don't know what do you think we're gonna get from her this year?
I can't say, and it's just because of the health unknown. Like it's just, for me, I don't know what the level of contact she can be exposed to looks like. I know that I've seen players' careers end because of brain type injuries. I think it was great to see her get some minutes last year, but she always was wearing that, preventative headband. And so I don't know, like I'm not sure what to get out of her, but I think that's one of the bigger unknowns is if she's a player that is healthy enough to regularly contribute, is back to kind of her old self, then, again, first or second, third player off the bench, could even swing for a starting position that she would have had if she was healthy. Right. But I don't see it happening just because of the health related issues. But I'm also someone who's like, let's be very cautious when it comes to brain injuries, so I want to set that bar where I think it's appropriate, which is who knows,
No, I don't disagree. I think just the thing that's weird about it is like, just kind of like the unknown. And I get it, and it kind of comes back to mental health and things like that. Like when there's an injury that you can't feel and touch. Yeah. What it kind of reminds me of, T, is like when everything went to the cloud. Yep. There used to be like physical servers. I can touch it. I can feel it. I can put it in my closet. That's where all my files are. Yeah. And then you try to explain, well, no, it's the cloud. It's like all around you. That's kind of like how brain injuries are. Like you can't see it. Like you can't see someone's brain on the outside. So like, how do you quantify? How do you tell someone, well, she has a brain injury. So we have to like be cautious. Yeah. It's like she's got ice on her knee. Yeah, I think so. Sometimes it's harder to kind of like explain and also quantify if you're the coaching staff. It's kind of like just trust the doctors, just kind of take your time. But I actually do think she's going to make a pretty big impact. Like even just ancillary, like just being a leader, having been here for a long time. Sure. She's going to be the new grandma, right? Yeah. Then who did we call grandma last year? I can't think of.
I think it was her. I think she is already the grandma, right? She's like
there was someone else that just graduated, and I can't think of her name, and it's going to bother me like nobody's business.
Avita Westbrook used to be grandma. I know there's been a couple that have rotated through.
it'll come to me by the end of the show, and I'll just blurt it out. But yeah, I wish I hope Caroline gives them a bunch, but I hope all I'm really kind of looking for from her is leadership.
Yeah,
staying healthy, all of that stuff. I don't really, honestly, to me, we're doing upside downside. I don't really see a downside for Caroline because
the downside is, the downside is that she would never play again, and I think that was the worst possible scenario. And I think she wants to play. She worked hard to get back, and people talk about you don't see these injuries, but as someone who covers the game, like during media timeouts, you'd see her have to leave the court wearing sunglasses inside. Like these things are not easy to manage. And like, imagine having the worst headache of your life and then playing in like a bright sold out pavilion, Gamble Pavilion, right? Like, so, it does impact your game, and it impacts your ability to be aggressive, your willingness to be aggressive. I mean, there was one game where she returned and she got hit in the head right away when she got back, and it was terrifying, so she was down on the floor for a bit. Like, it's just really hard to tell with those kind of injuries what full playing and participation looks like afterwards.
Yeah, I hear you. So let's take a look at, we have a couple more guards. One that I think is an interesting one is Kelis Fisher was brought in as, a really highly touted freshman. She's almost like a KK Arnold clone in the same height. Speed is similar, same types of games. I think Kelis is kind of more known as a little bit better of a shooter, but aggressive scorer. I don't know. Do you think that she carves out an early role, or do you think that her downside could just potentially be that there's just too many good and also entrenched players in front of her?
I think that for me, and this will be interesting once we get to start to see practices and preseason games, we'll see like what level she's at. Because again, it's always that point. Like, you can have an amazing high school player, which she is. She's trained at the IMG Academy, elite talent, but to translate to the college game is a different thing. I do see her upside being, a player who comes off the bench and maybe has 10 to 12 minutes optimistically, or it could be lower, but because I think it's just so crowded at that position, like there are so many guards to get into the rotation, that it might be hard for her to compete for that when you have ahead of her Azzi, Fudd, KK Arnold. We haven't talked yet about Ashlynn Shade or Kayleigh Heckel, right? There's just so many players with more experience in the UConn system who are upperclassmen who I think are ahead of her.
No, I agree. And that leads me to another one, Allie Ziebell. Another girl who came in as like, I'm not saying she had like Diana Taurasi, hype around her, but the hype around her as a shooter, the hype around her as kind of having like a really high basketball IQ. I think she can be a key depth piece, but I don't necessarily know if it was just lack of playing time. Shooters just keep shooting. Like I loved the fact that Gino trusted her, like in games where, they were killing a team and she would take like 10 threes. Like she was 3 of 10 from 3 or something like that. But like, I do need to see more from her in terms of, you're open. Like this is not a disrespect on Allie. Like if she was playing anywhere else, she'd be getting guarded a lot tighter. Like these are open looks. Yeah. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's interesting because after the title game in Tampa last year, she was the only one who didn't have reporters around her. I went up to her, asked her how she was feeling, and she shared, really happy about the title, but also was like, I want to be she said, I want to be a bigger contributor next year.
Of course.
So I think, she felt that, she feels that she's a competitor. She wants to get into the rotation again. Like you said, I think her biggest upside is her shooting, really just being a high efficiency offensive weapon for UConn. I think that, last year was especially hard for a guard like her to break in, because not only do you have the guards we talked about already, but you had Paige Bueckers, you had Caitlin Chen. It was just hard to get in there and be a regular contributor, especially towards the end of the postseason. So like you said, I think missing or, not taking those shots or being a little hesitant when you're stepping into a program and you're not getting a lot of minutes, you're sort of deferring to some of the upperclassmen, that could happen. But we haven't seen her tested in big enough moments yet to know kind of what that's like. I hope she gets more of those minutes this year, and I hope she's a player that can fit at some point into the rotation.
No, I do too. I was enamored with her initially, with they're not having it this year, but like the Midnight Madness where she was like just drilling 3-pointers from deep, like multiple, like one after the other. And those are the type of shots that she had in games. So I just wonder if it was more, I think there's got to be like a mental aspect of you're not a major contributor. So when you do get in the game, you want to impress so much that you maybe kind of rush it, or you just not as sharp as you would be if you knew that you got chances to be not perfect. Does that make
Exactly.
sense?
Yeah. Like your minutes are limited. You want to make the most of them, but that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself.
Sure.
You just have to do you and play your game. And over time that proves it, instead of trying to be heroic in a game. And sometimes, especially with big shooters like that, you want to contribute in that way. But when they don't fall, like,
Yeah,
that's part of the learning process.
absolutely. All right. Last two guards to talk about we'll go first. Let's go Ashlynn Shape. Ashlynn is someone commented on our YouTube channel about Ashlynn, and I couldn't agree more, which is rare when you get YouTube comments about how I wish I had her on my rugby team. Like she's just an absolute menace out there in terms of just, she doesn't care about her body. Like she'll just throw herself around, hustle, like, the efficiency, everything. She's a glue player, what are your thoughts about Ashlynn?
I mean, Ashlynn, like you said, the toughness is what sticks out to me. She represents those players I've always loved at UConn. You think back to players like Shea Ralph. You think about players like Mel Thomas in those drought years, if anyone even remembers her. If you don't win a title at UConn, did you even go?
Yeah,
Mel Thomas was another tough one. I just love the toughness players who are just going to like lay their body out on the line. Gino loves that scrappiness. I think she was a little timid offensively at times last year, and needs to not be, because she's a great shooter, and when she drives to the basket, good things happen. I think one of the daggers in last year's championship game was that right before the halftime side open three they got her, and you could just see Dawn Staley be like, really? She's shooting it too. Like she's that sneaky weapon that they have that I think should be more aggressive on the offensive end.
You made me laugh. She's shooting it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, Iowa State probably felt like that too when she had 20 in the first quarter.
Yeah. Yep. She can light it up. Her downside is, I don't know, like some players go through slumps. She could get a little lost in the rotation, maybe behind a player like Kayleigh Heckel, who we can talk about next, which is like a player who is All-American potential, went to USC, was one of the highly touted recruits, USA basketball experience, just a scrappy, quick, effective guard. So, I mean, yeah, I can't believe we're still talking about the guards this late into our podcast. There's so many guards, you know what I mean? Like that's what makes it tough to know who's going to get into the rotation and what these pieces could look like.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the last one, you mentioned her, Kayleigh Heckel. Kayleigh Heckel's got a ton of potential. And so it begs the question, do you think she chose UConn because she feels like she kind of can take the guards to the next level, or do you think she chose UConn closer to home? Because to me, like, I don't know, like it's one of those things where I know every player, because UConn's such a name, like every little girl wants to grow up playing UConn basketball. At least it seems like,
or they want to beat them.
Yeah, one or the other, right?
Yeah,
and so it's just, she to me is the most curious ad that they took.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, I don't have a whole lot of tape on Kayleigh Heckel. I've seen some of it, but that she competed at USC last season, didn't get a whole lot of minutes behind players like Juju Watkins, didn't get a whole lot of minutes for a player maybe of her caliber. And yeah, I think part of it is coming towards home. She was born in Connecticut, raised in Long Island. But also, like, she wants to get better. And, Lindsay Gottlieb is a great coach. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying she's not, but players that come to UConn and want to compete in such crowded lineups, like she's not coming here necessarily to be the star right away. She's coming to compete against the best players for playing time on the best team. So that just shows a level of competitiveness and dedication to the craft that I think, again, tremendous upside. And downside is maybe she doesn't fit in the rotation super well. Maybe she doesn't find her groove. Maybe UConn's system isn't going to work for her. But Gino and the coaching staff are pretty good at getting the best out of the players they recruit.
I don't disagree. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about the wings and the forwards, wings, whatever you want to call them, not the Dallas Wings, and the centers. All right, you're back on the Hoops Cat Pod. There's T. Baker. I'm Mark Zanetto. All right, so this is a longer than usual podcast, but for a reason. Like there's a lot of players to talk about, and I'm going to start with on the wings. We didn't miss any guards, did we?
We got them all. But there was a lot of them.
Yeah, just checking. All right, let's go to my favorite name ever in UConn history, Ice Brady. What are your thoughts?
Best name on the team. Epic name.
Easily.
So, I mean, Ice Brady is a player who has at times been inconsistent, started her career as a freshman with an injury. And, I think what I've been really impressed with her is her composure and her ability to be really composed in big moments. It was the Big East tournament, last year, the year before, where she just, came in and had really impactful minutes. We saw some of that in the NCAA tournament too. She's a player who I think has struggled with, particularly on the offensive end, but is a really strong defender. So I think that honestly, her upside to me is she could be a starter. She could be a starter as her absolute upside. I think it's going to be really tough for that, but it's possible that just her maturity, her upperclassman status, pushes her into be one of the starting wings. But I think it's more likely she comes off the bench, and her downside is that she regresses. She doesn't keep growing on the foundation she has, and she becomes sort of like a mid-level contributor on a team. What do you think? Is that a hot take starter?
No, it's not. It's not a hot take because, I mean, with the amount of players that are on this team and the talent that this team has, you could say that about almost anybody, right?
Yeah.
And because let's face it, and we should do this maybe on another show because we don't have time today, but do you think that if we put the team 1 versus team 2, where would team 2 rank in the top 25?
Right.
But we can do that for another day. I think I love Ice. I think if Ice can stay a little consistent, she definitely has starter energy. I think she could definitely do that, but I think she's better suited to come off the bench either way. Because she has that size, she's kind of an enforcer, but she can still, hit a 19-foot jump shot. It's no secret. I've said Ice Brady's been my favorite player for years. I love Ice. I hope she does well. I just think there are better players in the team right now, and I hope she proves me wrong. Like honestly, I hope she has a freaking dominant year, and then I can, get a Ice Baby shirt or something with Big East energy on it, and just wear it whenever we do a show.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing about her is Gino likes to start players that he trusts. I think he's struggled with trust with her in the past, but the more you fit into the system, the more you continue to show up, the more you build that trust. And so I think she's a player that, has potential to be a major contributor, and on the downside, just, still a great player, still someone who contributes, but maybe not at the same level as like a starting forward.
I couldn't agree more. Okay. Next on this list, let's talk Ayanna Patterson.
Yes, Ayanna Patterson is a player I'm so excited about because we haven't gotten to see her play yet. We know she's a quick, explosive guard, physical guard. Wing in a big that can pull down a lot of rebounds, play physically. So I'm excited to see. It's hard to know up or downside just because we haven't seen her play in a couple years. And that's going to be the test, is like, how does she contribute? What is her role on the team? And how is she able to, show that to the coaching staff regularly to earn those minutes?
I couldn't agree more. I think the downside for me with Ayanna is that, look, you got to play and you have to stay healthy. And that's just, it's not a shot against her. It's just that she legitimately needs to stay healthy so that she can prove that she's on the same level as the players that are above her. I think she came in with that same promise, but she's a redshirt sophomore now. So there's been some time that has passed. And a player that has kind of come in with a ton of fanfare and has lived up to that hype is Serah Strong. Could we even come up with a downside for Serah? Like, what would be the downside for Serah Strong?
I mean, if there's
I'm going to make you do it.
Yeah, if there's a downside, we haven't really seen it. They talk about the sophomore slump. It sometimes happens. We saw that with players like Aaliyah Edwards, in her second year. But I mean, the thing about Serah Strong is she never looked like a freshman. Never really exposed a lot of her vulnerabilities. So it's really hard to know what that looks like. So the downside is that she has a worse season than last year, which even in that case would still be a pretty damn good season.
Right. Yeah, I'm not even going to say it. I don't even want to put the energy out in the world. What the only downside would be. You can infer by my silence on that what you will.
Leaving it open for interpretation.
Yeah,
but on her upside is an All-American, could be player of the year, like is just an elite talent in the sport right now, could be one of the best players definitely is one of the best players in the country, could be the best player in the country, if not this year, then over her next couple years. Her potential is incredible. And coaches have seen her play and say that could be the best player that's ever come to UConn, right? So the sky's really the limit for her. She played in a WNBA game already, when she was
right.
When her mother was competing. So
yep. I'm going to say this. I'm going to give you a hot take. I think she's going to average she was close to a double-double last year, but I think she's going to average 20 and 10 easily this year. That's my hot take. And the only way that she doesn't, I'll put one caveat. So people are like, oh, okay. I think she does average 20 and 10 because she's so much better now, and she's going to get so much better at how to find easy buckets. And honestly, if with all the options, if she plays enough minutes, she could creep up into that triple-double area. She's not going to get it because Gino's not going to play her 35 minutes a game.
Yeah.
But is it unrealistic to say she could average 21, 10, and 7? I don't think so.
I think the only thing that I would say back to that, in that, this transition just to another player, which is Sarah Williams, like her addition to the team, like she averages a double-double already. So that's just rebounds that she's getting that Serah Strong doesn't have to get. So maybe the role is a little different this year for Serah Strong, and she's less of that defensive enforcer in the post, less of that rebounder, can more likely run on transition and get the bucket. So that'll be the only thing to see, is like she probably doesn't have to contribute as much in that way as she did last season, because there's more reliable depth at the big position.
Yeah, and also too, like if they're playing the type of defense that I think they're going to play next year, the next player we're going to talk about is Blanca Quinones. I could definitely see Blanca not playing down low, but essentially like coming to help out the bigs and rebounding, getting rebounds that get out long, and then starting transition basketball. So to your point, that could be. I think logistically, that's the only reason why she wouldn't average a double-double. It wouldn't be because, because she's not capable, right? But Blanca might be, if Kayleigh Heckel is the most intriguing, the reason why she's at UConn, Blanca is easily the most intriguing in terms of talent, because some people are calling her like, and I don't say this like joking around, like there's been plenty of people, internet sleuths, scouts that talk about this stuff all the time, that her background is she's like the international. I know Serah lived in Spain for 10 years, but the international version of like Serah Strong. So if you got even 50% of that out of Blanca, this team is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think she's really one of those X factor pieces of like where this team could just be a really dominant championship team if she has a really standout freshman year. Like you said, really just a player who has experience internationally, shows up as a professional on day one. So this like doesn't have that same rookie learning curve probably, but you've talked about her upside all year. We know that. What is her potential downside from your perspective?
I think expectation. Everything I just said, I think there's a lot of people that are expecting her to be, otherworldly. And I think all she really needs to do is just be herself. She could average 8 points a game and be a dominant defender And that's all that she'll need to do this year. She doesn't need to be Serah Strong, 16 points and almost 9 rebounds, 2 blocks a game, all that stuff. She needs to be a contributor, a piece that kind of steps into the culture of this team and, plays her game. Everything I've seen about her game, up tempo, she can shoot it, but she's going to be a slasher, getting to the rim. She's going to get fouled a lot. She may foul a little too much. She may be a little too aggressive. So maybe that's the downside, is she needs to just kind of like learn to be less aggressive, because in the States they call a lot more fouls than they do when you play in FIBA. But that's it. That's really it. There's not much.
Yeah, definitely a player where I think what's so fun as a fan about this team is that like you have so much talent that players only have to do what they're good at. Sometimes, like everyone just has to play their role and be really good at it if it's at its best, right? Like because again, Serah Strong doesn't have to worry about bodying in the post as much because she has Sarah Williams to do that. There's less scoring expectation on players like Azzi Fudd because you have other shooters, you have other slashers. And it also makes me think of a player now that we can kind of continuing with the bigs, which is Jana Alfy. I mean, she's a player who was in a starting role last year, struggled with consistency at times, had a really great game against Lauren Betts in the semifinal round against UCLA, but then was kind of pulled early in the championship game. At the moment, felt really big, I think, for her, and Gino recognized that. So maybe she's just the player who, like, what she does best is she rebounds. She's a defensive, a defensive blocker, and just comes in as like a backup big that needs to do those things in those big moments, and maybe taking that pressure of her off of being a starter and needing to be that reliable big could actually help her reach her ceiling even higher.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all. Like I don't even have anything to add to that. Like I think if I could just say exactly what you just said, but it's just, yeah, to me, I think the addition of having a player, and like we're kind of jumping around now, but Gandy coming in as a incredibly big body. Like she's listed as 6'5", but if you listen to my buddy Kieran Quinn, who's worked with her for years, she's a full 6'6". So like, yeah, it's like having a Lauren Betts that you can kind of practice with for, size wise for the whole year. So I think having that person that's going to push her physically. Gandy's a rim runner. She likes to get up and down the floor, and she's fast. She gets it in under 4 flat. So I think that's going to help 1,000%.
Yeah, and I'm just looking forward to, like, I've talked about this on the show before. I'm just like I'm a fan who loves just post play, good footwork, back to the basket, and I feel like it's been a few years since UConn had this much depth at the big position, and we know Chris Daly is a great coach of bigs. And, is always helping perfect jump shots, footwork, like really the finesse. And so seeing this many bigs in the sort of like UConn pipeline is really exciting. And I feel like it's been kind of rare in the past several years. So if all those bigs stay healthy, it'll be really interesting to see how that changes UConn's offense. And, does it become more post heavy? And we're seeing that across the game. More bigs are having successful careers. Like, I think these things are happening in rotation, right? Like we used to have like Sylvia Fowles, but then you had Candace Parker who evolved into that big guard. And now I think we're having this swing back to the basket bigs. And I personally, I love to see it. So I'm here for it.
Yeah. For time concerns, who did we miss here? Did we talk about everybody? I'm pretty sure we got almost everybody, right?
We got them all. Them all.
Well, I know maybe like someone like Gandy didn't get a ton of love, or even like Sarah Williams, we kind of not really glossed over, but like I get I think people get the point. I think the one question I wanted to ask you is, with this influx of, Serah is a legit post player, right? And she's a double machine. How are defenses gonna try to stop one or the other? Are they just going to? There's two schools of thought, right? You let the post player, turn and burn, and they get a layup or whatever. You try to defend it, hands up, blah blah blah, or you double and then you leave 3-point shooters open. A lot of people don't like that, right? There's a prevailing theme among coaches that you almost sacrifice the poor defender that's getting dominated because you don't want to give up too many threes. So what do you think it's going to be? People are going to mix it up, kind of see what UConn tends to do. I'm curious, especially the bigger teams.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a really tough defensive assignment because there are so many options. I think that what's really tough about like a junk defense in the post and crowding the post is that you can kick it out to any of the elite 3-point shooters on the team. I mean, if I was more of an X's and O person, I might have a better answer, but I think it's going to have to be just a lot of different experimentation on the defensive end. For opposing teams, trying to contain the biggest offensive weapons, which are, to me, Serah Strong and Azzi Fudd. But yeah, what that leaves you vulnerable to is tough. So, I mean, I think we saw really clearly in the 2023 at this point Final Four when Iowa took out South Carolina because they were just letting them shoot the threes, playing junk defense on Aaliyah Boston. But then Dawn Staley the next year got some of those more 3-pointers, and then you had that inside-outside game, and it's hard to play against. It's really hard to stop. She went undefeated that year, and teams just couldn't not only handle the versatility, but also the physicality. And I think this team is also going to bring the physicality. And it could get ugly for some teams. Yes,
it will. So he's not ugly. I'm not ugly, but it's going to get ugly for other teams. T, my friend, have a wonderful Friday and rest of your weekend. I love doing this because we kind of touched on everybody. And we're going to continue to add to the show. Go check out other shows on the network. Built to Ball. Obviously, if you're a huge women's basketball fan, you got to check out T's show. Built to Ball. If you want more grassroots stuff and interviews with recruits and coaches, check out EJ Arrows on Target. And then on the men's side, we obviously have 9 of the 11 teams covered so far. So we just added a Xavier podcast. So go check out Big East Energy Network. Download everything. Help us out. We'll see you next time on the Hoop Scout.
Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions.